A stranger showed me proof my husband was having an affair with his wife. Don't confront them yet, he said. So I stayed silent, rebuilt my life, and when my husband begged, I answered, I already left. I was waiting outside my daughter's school when the first message appeared. The pickup line had barely moved in 10 minutes. Parents were checking their phones, leaning on their horns, and watching the school doors as though staring harder would make the children come out faster. My phone buzzed in the cup holder. The message came from a man named Connor. Are you married to Travis? I almost ignored it. There was no profile picture I recognized, and I assumed he had contacted the wrong person. Then a second message appeared. My wife works with him. Her name is Vanessa. I'm sorry, but there's something you need to know. My stomach tightened. I knew Vanessa. She worked closely with Travis. Whenever Ivy and I visited his office, Vanessa was warm and attentive. She remembered Ivy's birthday. She once gave her a small notebook covered in silver stars. At the company holiday party, she hugged me and told me how lucky Travis was. I typed back, "What is this about?" His reply came immediately. "I believe your husband and my wife are having an affair." The car behind me honked. I realized the line had moved, so I pulled forward without really seeing the road. Then the school doors opened. Ivy spotted my car and ran toward me, her backpack bouncing against her shoulders. I locked my phone before she climbed into the back seat. "Mom, guess what happened today?" She launched into a story about spilled paint and an argument over colored pencils. I nodded at the right moments. I asked questions. I even laughed once. But Connor's message remained in my head the entire drive home. Travis had already told me he would be working late. After Ivy had a snack and settled in front of the television, I went into the bathroom, locked the door, and called Connor. He answered almost immediately. "Willa." "Yes." His voice sounded exhausted. Not angry. Not threatening. Just tired. "I'm sorry," he said. "Tell me what you know." There was a pause. I found messages on Vanessa's tablet. Some of them had synced to another device. At first I thought I was reading them wrong. What kind of messages? Hotel plans. Meetings. Things they said about us. I sat on the edge of the bathtub. How long? At least 6 months. No. The word came out automatically. Travis works with her. They travel for business. They meet clients together. I know. You could be misunderstanding it. I hoped I was. Connor spoke carefully, as though every sentence might cause more damage. I have screenshots. Hotel confirmations. Messages from your husband's number. My hands began to shake. Read one. "Willa, please." He read a short message Travis had sent after one of their supposed work trips. It was not explicit. It did not need to be. I recognized my husband immediately. The same phrasing. The same shortened words. The same stupid joke at the end, because Travis never allowed a serious message to remain serious. He had also used a phrase he often said to me whenever he wanted me to feel special. I covered my mouth. Connor stopped reading. "I'm sorry. Why are you telling me?" "Because I would want someone to tell me." I stared at the locked bathroom door. I could hear Ivy singing along with the television. "Are you going to confront your wife?" "I don't know." "How can you not know?" "I helped raise her children." His voice broke. Vanessa had 3 children before we met. I've been there for most of their lives, but I'm not their biological father. I never formally adopted them. If I confront her and she leaves, she can cut me out completely. I closed my eyes. Both of us had been betrayed. But the people who betrayed us still controlled access to the children we loved. At that time, I was completing a course after losing my previous job. Travis paid most of our expenses and controlled nearly every account that mattered. I had some personal savings, but not enough for a lawyer, an apartment, and months of bills. If I confronted Travis without a plan, he would have every advantage. He had the income. He had the house. He had professional connections. I had an unfinished qualification and a daughter who depended on me. "I need to see the proof," I said. Connor and I met the following morning at a coffee shop across town. I arrived early and chose a table near the back. Every time the door opened, I looked up. When Connor finally walked in, I knew who he was immediately. He held a thin folder against his chest and looked as though he had not slept for days. He sat across from me and placed the folder between us. "You don't have to look at all of it." "Yes, I do." The messages began innocently. Complaints about work. Private jokes. Lunch plans. Then the tone shifted. Vanessa described Connor as dependable but dull. She complained that he cared too much about school schedules and family routines. Travis described me as distant. He claimed I had stopped making him feel wanted. The affair had already started when he wrote that. I had not been distant then. I had trusted him. He had rewritten our marriage to make his choices sound justified. There were hotel confirmations, photographs of meals, and messages arranging meetings during afternoons when Travis told me he was dealing with clients. One of those afternoons had been Ivy's school performance. Travis had claimed an emergency meeting came up. I had saved him a seat anyway. Every time the auditorium door opened, I had expected him to rush inside. He never came. Now I knew why. I closed the folder. Connor stared down at his coffee. "What are you going to do?" he asked. "I can't confront him yet." He looked up. "I'm not saying I'm staying. You don't have to explain. I need to finish my course. I need work. I need somewhere stable for Ivy." Connor nodded. "If Travis knows I'm planning to leave, he'll start preparing too. Vanessa would do the same. I hate pretending." "So do I." I looked at the folder between us. "I don't know how long I'll need." Connor was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Don't confront them yet." I studied his face. "You think I should wait?" "I think you should be ready." He leaned forward. "Get your job. Protect what money you can. Speak to someone who understands family law. Then decide what you want to do." "What about you?" "I need time too. I have to find out whether I have any chance of remaining in the children's lives." That became our agreement. We would wait. We would gather information. We would prepare before either of us exposed what we knew. At first, Connor and I only contacted each other when something suspicious happened. Travis claimed he had an evening meeting. I would ask whether Vanessa was home. Vanessa said she was attending a work dinner. Connor would ask whether Travis had returned. Sometimes their stories matched perfectly. Sometimes they had clearly coordinated them. I hated what those conversations turned me into. I checked times. I memorized excuses. I noticed where Travis left his phone and how quickly he turned it face down when I entered a room. But knowing without a plan still felt safer than confronting him while I was financially dependent. Weeks passed. Then months. One night, after we compared another pair of excuses, Connor asked how my course was going. "I submitted the wrong file today," I said. 3 hours of work, and I uploaded an empty document. He laughed. "You're laughing at me?" "A little. That was the worst part of my day." "That's good." "How is that good?" "Because the worst part of your day was an assignment." I laughed to spite myself. For several minutes, neither of us mentioned Travis or Vanessa. After that, our calls became longer. We talked about the children. Connor told me about the time one of his stepsons hid a sandwich inside a game console because he wanted to save it for later. I told him how Ivy once cut a piece from her own hair because she wanted to see whether it would grow back immediately. Our spouses gradually disappeared from the center of our conversations. Connor called after taking the children to school. I messaged him while waiting for Ivy to finish her activities. We began meeting for coffee, then for walks through public parks. We went to a movie once and left an empty seat between us, as though that space could prove we were still doing nothing wrong. Connor never tried to kiss me. I never touched him beyond the occasional brush of a hand. But emotional boundaries had already begun to move. When something good happened, I wanted to tell him first. When I felt frightened, his was the voice I wanted to hear. I knew what that meant. Even without anything physical, we were becoming more than friends. That frightened me because I did not want to become another version of the people who had hurt us. Almost a year after his first message, Connor asked me to meet him in a park. It was cold enough for coats, but he had brought coffee and a small cake. "What's this?" I asked. "A celebration." "For what?" 1 year ago today, we met at that coffee shop. I had remembered the date too. I just had not expected him to. We sat on a bench near a pond. Connor stared at the coffee in his hands. "When I showed you that folder, I thought my life was over." So did I. I don't feel like that anymore. I turned toward him. He looked terrified. "Willa, I think I'm in love with you." For several seconds, I could not answer. Children were shouting near a playground. A dog was barking in the distance. Everything around us continued normally while my life shifted beneath me. "Connor, I know how it sounds." He rubbed a hand across his face. I spent months telling myself I was confused or lonely. I thought I only cared about you because you understood what happened. What changed? I stopped waking up angry about Vanessa. His eyes met mine. Now I wake up wondering whether Ivy's cough got better. I think about your interviews. I think about what ridiculous story I can tell you so you'll laugh. My throat tightened. What happens when we're both free? What do you mean? What if this disappears? I looked away. What if we only feel this because we're trapped in the same situation? What if we leave them and discover we were only holding on to each other because we were hurt? Connor gave me a sad smile. Then we'll find out. You're willing to risk that? I'm willing to risk being wrong. He moved slightly closer. I'm not willing to lie and say I don't love you. I stared at his hand resting on the bench. I love you too. Connor closed his eyes. For 1 second, I thought he might kiss me. Instead, he took my hand and pressed his lips against my fingers. That was all. It still felt like a line had been crossed. I drove home with my heart racing. When I opened the front door, Travis and Ivy were sitting on the living room floor building a tower from wooden blocks. Ivy laughed as Travis pretended to knock it over. Mom. She ran toward me. Travis smiled. There you are. He tried to kiss my cheek. I turned away while removing my coat. His smile faded. That night, I lay beside Ivy while she slept and stared at the ceiling. She loved her father. She loved the house. She believed her family was safe. Travis had broken our marriage, but I knew I would be the one packing bags and explaining why we no longer lived together. Loving Connor made that reality feel less clean. The following morning, I sent him a long message. I told him we needed to stop meeting. He called immediately. I ignored the first call, then the second. When I finally answered, his voice was strained. Are you staying with Travis? No. Then why are you ending this? Because I need to leave my marriage for the right reason. The reason is that he betrayed you. I know. My voice shook. But when Ivy asks why I left, I need to know I didn't do it because another man was waiting. I'm not asking you to leave for me. I know you're not. Then don't confuse loving me with causing this. I pressed my hand to my forehead. What if I look back and wonder whether I gave up too quickly? You've spent a year preparing to leave. That doesn't stop the guilt. Connor was quiet. Then he said, all right. The fear in his voice nearly broke me. If you need distance, I'll give it to you. But don't abandon your plan. I won't. You're close to finishing your course. I know. You have interviews. I know. Don't let guilt keep you dependent on him. I started crying. I love you, Connor whispered. I love you too. We stopped meeting after that. We still spoke, but less often and more carefully. Neither of us discussed a future together. A few months later, Connor's mother, Ruth, became seriously ill. She lived several hours away, and he began traveling back and forth to help her. One evening, he called from a hospital hallway. He sounded exhausted. I don't know what to do, he said. You don't have to fix everything. Just be there. She's scared. So are you. He went silent. A few days later, Travis took Ivy to spend the day with his parents. I got into my car and drove to the hospital. Connor was sitting alone near a vending machine when I arrived. He looked up and froze. You came. I couldn't let you sit here alone. I stayed for less than 2 hours. Ruth was awake but tired. Connor introduced me as a close friend. She held my hand and thanked me for coming. When I left, Connor walked me to the parking lot. You didn't have to do this. Yes, I did. He hugged me. It was the first time his arms had been around me. Neither of us wanted to let go. The following day, Connor returned home and told Vanessa he wanted a divorce. He did not show her all the evidence. He did not mention me. He simply said the marriage was over. Vanessa accused him of abandoning her children. Then she reminded him that he had no automatic legal right to them. It was the exact threat he had feared. Connor tried to arrange continued contact, but Vanessa controlled when it happened. Eventually, he moved closer to Ruth. Around the same time, Travis's affair appeared to be ending. He came home earlier. He stopped guarding his phone. He brought flowers and asked about my classes. He tried to sit closer to me on the couch. None of it comforted me. Whenever he touched my shoulder, I remembered the messages. Whenever he told me I was beautiful, I wondered how often he had said the same thing to Vanessa. One evening, after Ivy had gone to bed, Travis followed me into the kitchen. We need to talk. I have work to finish. This can't keep waiting. He stood near the doorway. You barely speak to me. You won't let me touch you. We haven't been close in more than a year. I've been busy. It isn't only that. He lowered his voice. You act like you hate me. I said nothing. I'm trying, Willa. Trying to do what? Fix whatever is happening between us. I turned toward the sink. He continued. A marriage can't survive when one person keeps shutting the other out. My hands stopped moving. When someone feels ignored long enough, they might start looking for attention somewhere else. I turned around. Is that what you told yourself before you started having an affair with Vanessa? The color disappeared from his face. What? You heard me. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie again. He stared at me. Who told you? That was his first real response. Not denial. Not outrage. He wanted to know how I knew. I've known for more than a year. His expression changed from fear to disbelief. A year? Yes. You knew and said nothing? I was preparing. For what? To leave. Travis stepped back. I told him I had nearly finished my course. I told him I had accepted a job. I told him I had found an apartment close enough that Ivy could remain at the same school. His face hardened. You planned all of this behind my back? You had an affair behind mine. That ended. That doesn't erase it. She meant nothing to me. That makes it worse. How? You risked our family for someone who meant nothing. He moved closer. Willa, listen to me. I made a mistake. A mistake happens once. You made plans, booked rooms, and lied for months. I ended it. You ended it when it stopped being exciting. That's not true. Then why did you only start trying with me again after she pulled away? His silence answered me. He reached toward my arm. I stepped back. We can go to counseling, he said. I don't want counseling. We have a daughter. I know. Then think about her. I have thought about her every day since I found out. If you cared about Ivy, you would have confronted me immediately. We could have fixed this before you started building another life. I stared at him. You don't get to accuse me of secrecy. You lied for a year. I survived for a year. For the next several weeks, Travis shifted between panic and anger. One day, he begged me to reconsider. The next, he accused me of destroying our family. He left flowers on the table and became angry when I did not react. He said I had punished him without allowing him to defend himself. I told him I had spent a year grieving privately. That's why you're so calm, he asked. I'm calm because I already did my screaming when you weren't there. When the apartment became available, my sister Gemma helped me move. It was smaller than the home Ivy knew. The cupboards were old, and one kitchen drawer came loose whenever I pulled it too quickly. I loved it. Gemma helped me assemble Ivy's bed. We chose yellow sheets because Ivy said yellow looked like sunshine. For a few hours, I believed the worst part was over. The morning I moved, Travis stood in the bedroom while I packed the last suitcase. You're really doing this? Yes. You're breaking Ivy's home. I closed the suitcase. You broke the marriage. And you're finishing the job. I'm ending the pretending. His expression changed. You're going to regret this. I thought he meant I would miss him. Within days, I understood what he really meant. Travis restricted my access to our shared accounts and delayed providing the financial information my lawyer requested. Then he filed an emergency request for temporary primary custody. He argued that Ivy should remain in the established family home until a full parenting assessment could be completed. He pointed to my new job, my smaller apartment, and the fact that I had received treatment for depression after losing my previous work and discovering the affair. He described me as unstable. My lawyer, Paula, told me the temporary order was not a final judgment. The court is preserving the current arrangement until the assessment is finished, she said. He is trying to frighten you. It's working. The temporary arrangement gave me scheduled contact, but some of the language was vague. Travis exploited every gap. A visit would be delayed because Ivy was supposedly sick. Another would be shortened because of schoolwork. A handover location would change at the last minute. When Paula contacted his lawyer, they called each incident a misunderstanding. For almost 8 weeks, I did not have one normal day alone with my daughter. I saw her during brief scheduled visits and spoke to her through video calls while Travis remained nearby. At first, Ivy asked when she could see her new room. Then her questions changed. Daddy says you left. I moved, sweetheart. I didn't leave you. Why can't you come home? Because you're dad and I need separate homes. Daddy says you don't want us. That isn't true. She looked away from the screen. You chose to go. I chose a different home. I will always choose you. After each call, I sat in Ivy's empty room and wondered whether leaving had been a mistake. Not because I missed Travis. Because I missed my daughter so badly that I would have returned to almost any life if she had been waiting inside it. One night, I started writing Travis a message. I told him I was willing to discuss moving back. Gemma saw it before I sent it. She took my phone. Don't. He has Ivy. Temporarily. She thinks I abandoned her. Then spend the rest of your life showing her you didn't. I can't do this. Yes, you can. I don't feel strong. Strength rarely feels impressive while you're using it. She sat beside me. Sometimes it just feels like surviving one more night without surrendering. Connor called most mornings during that period. Ruth's condition was getting worse, yet he still made space for my grief. Some mornings I spoke. Some mornings I cried. Once I said, "You don't have to keep listening." I know. Then why do you? Because you shouldn't wake up believing you're alone. The parenting assessment eventually found no reason Ivy could not live equally with both parents. The court ordered shared custody. I thought the first handover would feel like getting my daughter back. Instead, Ivy stood beside Travis's car and refused to come with me. I want Daddy. You'll see him in a few days. I don't want your apartment. You haven't seen it yet. I still don't want it. Travis stood behind her with his hands in his pockets. Daddy says you made us split up, she said. He looked away. I wanted to scream at him. Instead, I crouched in front of her. You can be angry with me, but come see your room before you decide you hate it. She cried during the drive. At the apartment, she refused to unpack. She said the yellow sheets were ugly. She would not eat dinner because Daddy cooked it better. That night, she cried until she fell asleep. I sat beside her bed and rubbed her back. The next morning, she barely spoke to me. On the third day, she asked if we could bake cookies. On the fifth, the kitchen drawer came loose and nearly fell into my hands. She laughed so hard that I started laughing too. By the end of the week, she was herself again. Then Travis collected her. The following week, she returned guarded and distant. It became a pattern. She needed time to feel safe with me again after every stay with her father. Paula suspected Travis was influencing her, but proving it was difficult. He never wrote anything openly hostile. He avoided saying the worst things around other adults. If questioned, he claimed Ivy was expressing her own feelings. Then Travis offered me a deal. He said he would consider giving me primary custody if I surrendered my claim to the financial settlement in our marital agreement. I called Paula immediately. He cannot trade custody for money, she said. I don't care about the money. He knows. I want Ivy. And he is using that. I still told her I was willing to consider it. Before anything could be put in writing, Travis withdrew the offer. A few days later, he filed another request for primary custody. That was when I understood. He had never intended to give Ivy to me. He wanted to see how quickly I would surrender everything. I stopped sleeping properly. I struggled to focus at work. I began questioning whether leaving had been selfish. Then I found an old photograph from the day Ivy was born. Travis was holding her against his chest. He looked overwhelmed and terrified. I remembered what he had whispered to her. I'll always protect you. I stared at the photograph for a long time. Then I wrote him a letter. I did not mention Vanessa. I did not argue about the house or the money. I wrote about Ivy. You can hate me. You can blame me for leaving. You can fight me over every dollar and every decision. I am an adult, and I will survive it. But Ivy is not a message you can send through a child. She should never believe that loving one parent betrays the other. I may be replaceable in your life. You already proved that. But she is your daughter. There will never be another version of her. Please don't damage the person we both love just to punish the person you no longer control. I sent it before I could change my mind. Travis did not reply. For several days, he communicated only about Ivy's schedule. At the next handover, she ran toward me. She wrapped both arms around my waist. Can we make pancakes? I looked past her at Travis. He would not meet my eyes. The hostility did not disappear immediately, but the comments became less frequent. Ivy stopped arriving at my apartment believing she needed to reject me. She began speaking openly about both homes. She told me she loved her father. I told her she should. A few weeks later, Travis brought her to my apartment and waited after she went inside. "Can we talk?" he asked. I stepped into the hallway. He stared at the floor. "I'm sorry." I said nothing. "For the affair," he continued. "And for what I did afterward." My eyes burned. "You kept my daughter from me." I was angry. So was I. I thought if leaving became painful enough, you would come back. That wasn't love. I know. It was the first completely honest thing he had said in a long time. "I won't use Ivy again." "Then prove it to her." He nodded. Travis did not become a different person overnight. He still delayed financial documents. He still became defensive when discussing the divorce. Sometimes the bitterness returned. But he stopped putting it on Ivy. Later, he began dating someone. Whenever the relationship was going well, he often asked me to keep Ivy during some of his scheduled days. I accepted every extra hour without asking questions. My life became quieter. I worked. I took Ivy to school. We made dinner in the apartment. The financial case continued slowly, but I stopped allowing it to control every thought. Connor remained near Ruth. His divorce was finalized. Vanessa rarely allowed him to see the children he had helped raise, and that loss stayed with him. Ruth's health continued to decline. Still, Connor and I spoke every day. We did not discuss marriage. We did not make plans to combine our lives. There were too many unsettled things. Then Travis took Ivy on a short trip with his family. I came home from work expecting an empty weekend. Connor was standing outside my apartment. For a moment, I thought I had imagined him. He held an overnight bag in one hand. "What are you doing here?" "I wanted to see you." "You drove all this way?" "Yes." "Where are you staying?" "I booked a hotel." I looked at the bag. "Then why are you outside my door?" "Because I reached the hotel and realized I didn't want to spend the weekend pretending I came for any reason other than you." My heart pounded. "My divorce still isn't final." "You're separated." "Mine is finished." "I'm not asking you to announce anything. I don't know whether my life is ready." Connor stepped closer. "Your life may never become perfectly ready." I glanced down the hallway, suddenly aware of neighbors and cameras. "I'm not here to rescue you," he said. "You already built your way out." "Then why are you here?" "Because I love you." My eyes filled. Connor reached for my hand. "Choose yourself now." I opened the door. He never used the hotel room. We spent most of the weekend talking. We cooked in my small kitchen. We walked to the grocery store. We sat on the living room floor because I still did not own enough chairs. For the first time, I allowed myself to enjoy happiness without treating it like another trap. Nothing about our lives was simple. Ruth was still sick. My divorce remained unfinished. Ivy was still adjusting to two homes. Connor carried the grief of losing regular contact with the children he had raised. Love did not erase any of that. But being with him did not feel like escaping my life. It felt like finally living inside it. On Sunday evening, Connor packed his bag. "I hate leaving," he said. "So do I. We can wait before telling anyone." "I'm not ashamed of you." "I know. I need Ivy's life to remain calm. Then that comes first. And Ruth needs you." He nodded. "She knows about you." I stared at him. "What did you tell her?" "That when my life fell apart, I met someone who reminded me it wasn't over." I wiped my eyes. "Did you tell her how complicated everything is?" "No." He smiled. "I told her the important part." "What part?" "That I love you." Months have passed since that weekend. Connor and I are still private. We visit when we can and speak most days. We have not made promises about marriage or forever. For once, I do not need to know the ending before allowing myself to experience the present. Ivy is happier. She tells me she loves me without looking guilty. She tells me she loves her father too, and I remind her that she never has to choose. Travis has mostly kept his promise. We communicate about Ivy and little else. The legal and financial matters are still moving slowly, but my life no longer depends on their outcome. My apartment still has secondhand furniture. The kitchen drawer still falls loose when I pull it too quickly. I am proud of every imperfect part of it. It belongs to a life I chose. One evening, Travis came to collect Ivy. She was still looking for one of her shoes, so he waited near the door. He looked around the apartment. Then he looked at me. "Is there really no chance for us?" I did not answer immediately. He stepped closer. "I know I hurt you. I know I handled everything badly. But we had a life together." "We did. Please tell me there's still something left." I thought about the message Connor sent while I waited outside Ivy's school. The folder on the coffee shop table. The hotel confirmation from the day Travis missed her performance. The weeks I spent without my daughter. The apartment I had built from almost nothing. Then Ivy ran into the room holding one shoe and laughing because she had found it inside the laundry basket. I looked at Travis. I already left. His face changed. Not because he misunderstood me. Because he finally understood that I had not meant the day I packed my suitcase. I had left long before that. I left when I signed the lease. By the time I carried my suitcase through the front door, there was nothing left for him to stop. He nodded once and took Ivy's bag. I watched them leave together. I did not feel victorious because Travis looked defeated. I felt peaceful because I no longer needed him to lose for me to know I had won. My revenge was not taking his house. It was not replacing him with Connor. It was not watching his affair collapse. My revenge was becoming someone he could no longer control. Connor did not save me. He reminded me that another life existed. But I was the one who finished the course, accepted the job, signed the lease, and kept fighting when my daughter believed I had abandoned her. I still wonder whether staying silent for that year made me dishonest. Maybe I should have confronted Travis immediately. Maybe some of the damage could have been avoided. Or maybe he would have watched me more closely and made leaving impossible. I will never know. Was I wrong to hide the truth until I could safely leave, or was staying silent the only responsible way to protect myself and my daughter?